I think ever since the Black Album, it seems like they were afraid of grunge really taking over. So their response was the Black Album. It was either that or losing to Jethro Tull at the Grammys. They're like, man, we have this masterpiece of an album.
You're listening to Passed Out, the podcast where history, mystery, the occult, and the cosmos collide. Get ready to bang your head, because this week we're talking about Metallica, the band that turned heavy metal into a worldwide phenomenon. Stay curious, and welcome to Passed Out. Welcome to Passed Out. I'm Josh.
I'm Arash.
This week we're going to be kind of doing a deep dive like we did with Thrice a couple weeks ago, but we're going to go deep into the world of Metallica today.
Yes. They haven't released a new album, unfortunately, but it's
How long ago was 72 Seasons?
2022, which,
Really?
yeah.
Man, for some reason I thought it was more recent than that. I thought it was like 2024.
Or wait, was it 2023? I should know this, of course. What Metallica has done lately, 2023, yes.
Okay.
Metallica, ever since they got Rob Trujillo, I don't think it's because of him. I think it mostly because they have their own record label now, Blackened Recordings. They're not tied to any contractual obligations to pump out records like they used to when they were on Elektra.
Yeah.
So you have from Saint Anger, I would say from Reload, if you don't count S&M and Garage, you have Reload, which is 97, to Saint Anger, which is 2003. That's 6 years. Saint Anger to Death Magnetic was 5 years. And then from Death Magnetic to Hardwire to Self-Destruct, you have about 8 years. And then another 7 years. So we had 72 seasons. It's been almost 3 years now. I have a feeling at their age, we're going to see a new album in the next 2 years, maybe. I would say 2027, late 2027 might be a reasonable guess of when their next album would be. I would like to see something in between of doing like a studio acoustic album. I don't know if you've seen any of their Helping Hands acoustic sessions that they have that like they have these fundraising concerts that are mostly acoustic that they'll change up the songs like Fuel. The Four Horsemen one is awesome. They've done Creeping Death, all these songs of their catalog, but they kind of reimagine them into acoustic versions, and they sound familiar yet very different.
I think it's great when you do an acoustic stuff, you change things a little bit just to kind of keep it interesting, not just make the same song on a different instrument. It's just like we've kind of revived it a little bit to, it feels a little different, but it's still the same. I love that.
Yeah.
When they do that.
I don't know in the new S&M how much of it you heard, but they have All Within My Hands, which is a Saint Anger song. And in the S&M version, they have their acoustic version of it being played with the symphony. And
shit, that's nice.
Yeah, that was, I think, their first single off of that. Maybe their only single. And they hire this dude to do backing vocals, and that's all he does. And it hits so good when he harmonizes. James's voice is amazing acoustically. Like, I know we were shitting on country last episode, but if it was like an outlaw country with James Hetfield, I would be so down for that, dude. Yeah. Really, really good gravelly voice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's one thing I'd like to see from them. Garage Inc. 2 would be awesome. You see them covering Elton John.
What song?
It was the first track off of like his first record. It's really two songs in one, but one's like an intro. Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding. And Elton John gave him and his partner gave like a standing ovation. I
Mhm.
think they kind of became friends when Howard Stern had um, Elton John and Miley on his show with the band. And yes, why Elton John covered Nothing Else Matters with Miley, and Elton John was said that it was like one of the best love songs he's ever heard, and it made James Hetfield cry. He, he was like wiping
That's
tears, like he got emotional off of that, and I think they kind of were talking, and he wanted to return the favor to Elton John because Elton John, I didn't know this prior to that. Like his early rock stuff was a big influence on James. Like he has fond memories of being a kid and listening to Elton John.
really
Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. So garaging to acoustic album, studio album, new studio album. I want to see some new shit here soon, which we should. They released this movie about like their fans and how like diverse group of fans. I haven't seen it yet, but
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that.
they released a lot of movies under their label. They had that
Yeah.
concert movie Through the Never.
Mhm.
They've had some kind of monster documentary, and then this one, which for a band is kind of ridiculous. I wanted to see 72 Seasons. When they were performing in Arlington, they had that like live at theaters across the U.S. That would have been fun. I, I
That
wish
would have been fun, yeah.
I wish I'd gone to that, but um, yeah, Metallica has just become almost the Kiss of modern. Well, I mean, they're not modern rock anymore, but they've kind of taken that mantle from Kiss
Mhm.
to where not so much merchandising like how Kiss does it, but the marketing that they
Yeah.
do. They try to really go in these different avenues. They've done a great job of um, as far as streamlining getting their music out there to people. They purchased a vinyl pressing factory, so they pump out all their own vinyls now, which is why I think you see Metallica still on a lot of top Billboard charts, is because
They're selling a lot of
yeah,
records.
and they're pumping them out themselves. It's cheaper for them to do so. So like they have the
Yeah.
ability to do it.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of Metallica on vinyl?
I used to. Um I still have some vinyl. A lot of it um I still have at a friend's house that I still need to go get it from. I don't know how logistical that would be for me, to the point where like I hope he, you know, at this point I hope he took him out of the garage and is enjoying it himself. I have yet to ask him about it, and I kind of forgot about it till he brought it up. I used to. There was a lot of weird stuff even before they had their blackened printing press. That they had just weird compilations of albums, not albums, but like singles with live versions or demo versions of their songs. There's a lot of stuff out there with that. I don't know. I haven't seen really. I think Stranger Things really brought like the Zoomer generation. I know you haven't seen that
Yeah.
season of Stranger Things yet, but um,
Yeah, but I know
yeah, you
about it.
know,
So, um, Joe Quinn, or Mr. Who's Human Torch in Fantastic Four.
know that.
Yeah, dude, you put that wig on him, fucking he's Eddie.
No shit. Good for him.
Yeah, dude.
Good for him. Yeah, there was footage of
Yeah.
him. Like they invited him out to a concert I don't know where, but
I saw that.
yeah, that
Yeah,
was really cool. And they,
that is really cool.
you know,
Embrace the culture. I think that's something that Metallica does well. Is they embrace kind of the culture around their music that like the fans kind of take on. So
and a lot of it I think has to do with the whole Napster debacle, which for the record, I think Lars was right. We see what streaming has done to music and compensating the artist. It's really taken a downturn. But he got such bad press for that for a while.
uh,
Like people our age to this day, they're like, "Oh, Metallica's greedy and Metallica sucks," just because they remember the whole Napster thing. And
but if we were them, would we feel any different about it? I don't think we would. I kind of feel like we'd fight it too. Like,
but the reason why Lars was pissed was because they were recording the "I Disappear" for Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack, and they got it. Someone leaked out an unfinished version, which is the version you hear. Like they weren't done with that song. They had to release it because it was leaked to the radio stations who were just playing the shit out of it. So that's what pissed
it's
him
like a
off.
demo. So the version that's on the album is like the demo.
Yeah, there's another version of "I Disappear" where the chorus is more energetic and the verses are more like how the chorus is in the actual released, quote unquote, released version of it. Um, yeah, so they weren't completely done. It's really weird.
Shout out to the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack, bringing Metallica and Limp Bizkit
That
together.
Limp Bizkit one is so good.
Dude, I know.
It's so good.
I know. So,
Um,
what have I been seeing on Metallica lately? Fleming Rasmussen has been doing like a master class of the recording process for And Justice for All. And I've been watching a lot of the stuff from that, and it's been pretty
yeah, so
interesting.
he supposedly didn't know that there was going to be no bass on Injustice. Is that what happened? I saw a headline
Yeah,
of
dude.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, he was talking about just like kind of how there's been a lot about kind of the treatment of Jason Newsted out around this whole thing and just kind of what happened to him in the writing process and just like it was just, you know, you're never going to replace kind of Cliff and like the kind of attitude that the guys had towards him and
Which sucks. I love
kind of crazy.
Jason.
It's like yeah, dude, I do too, and like some of the stuff like he's played on that I've heard that they've like done the bass boost on. You're like okay, I can see what he was trying to bring to this. That they just out of their pain, I assume silenced.
There was, I don't know how true this is, but I, from what I hear about the Injustice for All, they were fucking with him at first, and the fact that he didn't say anything,
Yeah.
they're like, all right, whatever. I guess we'll release it like that. He wrote one of my favorite Metallica songs of all time, Blackened. Um, my favorite song off of Reload, which is Where the Wild Things Are. Jason has some good contributions to the band. His main contributions though were his live performances. He was a monster, and his backing vocals, he could harmonize like a motherfucker.
Hmm.
I think Metallica still misses that to this day, but it's also probably why Jason's neck is fucked up because he would go so hard doing like the twisty neck um,
Yeah.
headbanging, but he was just an absolute unit. Speaking of I Disappear, there's a performance of them at the MTV Music Awards where I Disappear is a fine song and all, but he had no business rocking out as hard as it made that
What he
performance
did.
so good. Really did. And the band kind of fed off of that. And as talented as Rob is, Rob plays much more like Cliff Burton did than Jason did. Jason played with a pick primarily.
Yeah, dude, and that was something that the guys seemed to have an issue with during the And Justice for All recordings.
Well, why did you hire him? He never hid the fact that he was a pick player.
Yeah. It could have been you could be right, dude. Like they could have just continued they could have just been fucking with him and like all this stuff's like documented that's just like you don't really feel like you're in on the inside joke. You're like, are they being like this is kind of mean? But
There's one person
if
I
they were
think
really
of.
fucking with him, dude, like it's so it makes it so funny if that's really what was happening.
You know what I think of it as is like you and I would be Lars and James, and then there's a certain someone, and I think you know who it is. Like if you were to come and play bass, we would have done the same exact thing to him. He would have been like, "Bro, why are you doing this to me?"
Yeah. It's so funny.
And we're like, "All right, I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to be in the band."
Yeah. He's like, okay, you don't want the bass to wub? All right.
I am. I mean, if I was in Jason's footsteps, then I don't know if I really would have made a big deal out of it either. He came from a relatively unknown band in Flotsam and
Mhm.
Jetsam. They had some success. Like I've heard their early stuff. Granted, I was a Metallica fan by the time, but uh, if I he talks about getting this call in Arizona, he's like doing something with gravel, I think. He's saying that, hey, do you want to be in one of the biggest bands touring right now? Fuck yeah, I'm making millions of dollars. If you don't hear my instruments on their next album, I don't give a shit. I'm going and touring all these different cities. And then by the time Black Album rolls around, he has a big part in that. You can hear the bass for sure. And he
Mhm.
has,
Yeah, no, you definitely can.
and one of his biggest contributions was My Friend in Misery, among with others, like on my head, but there was a lot of bass in The God That Failed. Um, but you could hear the bass throughout that, even before the remastered versions of the Black Album.
Mhm.
So I
Which the remasters of the Black Album sound fantastic. Just like on a it already sounded good. Like it's already probably like the one in my opinion like one of the best sonically pleasing Metallica albums. And but like man, the remaster you're like, okay, like they've done, you know, some of the modern tricks to just kind of make you feel like you're sitting inside of it.
yeah, even beforehand, the the whole. I don't know if you've seen the documentary of Day in the Life of Metallica, where a
Mhm.
lot of it they use so many different amps on
Yes.
to to bring the sound of the guitars, even for the bass, um, to where it was hard to mimic live. I remember seeing a Kirk interview where he's like, "We were wondering how the fuck are we going to make this sound anything close to the Black Album when we tour." And you hear that with like when they play Wherever I May Roam live today. It sounds fine, but the guitars are so much less intense than that absolute
Yeah,
beauty.
because you probably yeah, the amps that they're touring with are probably just like a workhorse amp that can kind of get a lot of the job done, but like just doesn't quite mimic the tones that you used on the record sometimes.
Yeah,
So
and they tour with enough shit as it is to where
yeah,
bringing 18 million amps probably wouldn't be the smartest
yeah,
thing to do.
probably. You know, that's look and like I think that's where like the Cortex comes in like really handy with like people who are really using amp modeling to like record records now is like you can just program your settings to like the Cortex and you're like, okay, I've got this pedal that just like mimics all of the amp tones I used on the record that you can just flip through, have your presets for your different sections of the songs.
Yeah, it
And it
really helps. Even
yeah.
that is kind of overwhelming when I see it. It's just man, does take a lot of time to.
Yeah, dude, to like dial it in and save all your settings and like know exactly what to press on the pedal to fucking get it to work right when you're at the show. Like, do you imagine like accidentally like dumping your settings like right before your show and you're like, oh fuck. Like with the pedal board, with the pedal board, I can kind of do whatever I need to fucking run into the house, you know, through with an amp. But yeah, I don't know. I we use a lot of modeling stuff on albums, but I don't even like some of that. I question how we'd recreate some of it live too. So I feel Metallica on that one, and it's kind of making me question how we record going forward. Especially when I hear, dude, I've been listening to like just going back to Thrice real quick. I've been listening to that like they keep releasing more content on the recording of their stuff,
Hmm.
and like, dude, a lot of the bass is was done through like line 6 stuff, and I was like, man, Arash would really appreciate this.
That's good to
Like
hear.
they're running, yeah, dude, no, they're running all like a lot of the bass, and some of the guitars are running through line 6.
Line
Like
6 has come a
I guess
huge
Dustin,
way since
dude,
when
I
we were
guess
kids.
Dustin's a pretty, yeah, he I guess Dustin's pretty big on the new line 6 stuff right now.
That's
So
awesome. Makes me feel better about
yeah,
my
so
practice
I
hand.
need, yeah, no, dude, I knew you'd feel better about that. I was like, man, if Thrice is using line 6, we can record on line 6. I wanna figure out how to record more guitar. I want to go back to how they used to do it.
I really like
I don't want to sound like everybody else on a modeler.
the orange amps are really fucking cool. Some of the uh tubed amps are obviously the big
Hmm.
deal right now, and rightfully
Yeah.
so. But uh, I think we're going to see a shift away from that too. Like, it's going to be like a mix of digital and regular amplification, if that makes sense. There's going to be a lot of hybrids going on.
Well, that's how studios are nowadays too. It's like a lot of guys. You're like you got a lot of digital plugins, but then you have like all these compressors and stuff that just sound better analog still, and then you're using like a kind of blended version of it. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense if guitars kind of start doing that.
Even for live performances, I think you're going to see a lot less
Hmm.
amplifiers and stuff. See a direct plug-in to where it's a safe setting for the band. I don't know how people are going to feel about that, but that would make it so much easier on the band to travel with. You just plug it
Well,
in
I
the
feel like
PA.
that's what I see. I feel like that's what I see like electronic artists doing who play guitar. Like when they're up there and you're not seeing a lot of amps, you know, but you see their laptop up there still with their guitar, and I'm like, are you just outputting your fucking? Are you just outputting the like a interface into the house from like Ableton and using like what you kind of built the record with on Ableton? Like Ableton's made for live performances. I just use it as like a mixing system, but like a lot of people do live performances on Ableton because it has a lower it has very low latency
Yeah,
when you kind of crank it down, but when you're running the super low latency, you can't be cranking like a million samples,
right.
you know, in there.
And
So,
all you would just need is a preamp, I would imagine, right? To
hmm,
lower the latency. I
yeah,
see
dude. Which these
people
interface, which like these interfaces have pretty good preamps in them nowadays.
and I see people at this spot I go to all the time. They'll have headphones like this plugged into their laptop and they're just strumming the guitar. I assume doing the same thing, like checking, uh, creating their sound on the amp and fucking around
Hmm.
with it, which is cool. I love
Yeah,
shit like that, man.
yeah. It's really how music's made nowadays, dude. Especially when like a lot of bands and groups are like us, where it's like one or two guys doing a lot of the work, and there's not really a whole lot of other people involved.
Even with drumming, you
So
see the triggers being something that's not just used in studios anymore. And I
yeah,
thought it was going to
no.
go more towards the electronic drum sets with the pads, but you
Hmm.
see people using traditional drum sets with these little triggers. Maybe,
Uh-huh, with the like the little trigger kick up setup connected to their kit now. Yeah.
yeah, and their cymbals are a little bit more like, speaking of hybrids, because it has that that little cushion thingy on the edges of them to
Hmm.
where it doesn't make that
Hmm.
much noise, but still has that trigger. So you get the
Yeah.
feel for it, but it doesn't ring out. And so even drumming, you hear it on speaking of that Thrice album, you hear it on that with the electronic drum sets on there. I'm sure he could do that live easily now.
Yeah, yeah, he does. He's got like a he does have like some electronic stuff set up on his kit, and a lot of the stuff I'm hearing that I think are electronics now that I've really dove in deep into that album. It sounds like he's playing like a live kit that they are just like like running through some crazy filters
Hmm.
that make it sound more electronic. And then when they pull the filter back, when it hits a certain point, you hear the fucking full kick come in. And I'm like, okay, that's a fucking cool trick.
The Deftones did that too on their newest album.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll ever see Lars do that. But Lars, as far as technology goes, he just started using a click live, which has really improved his drumming. Really improved it. Like Lars, for a while, people were making fun of him, saying that he can't even keep a tempo, which he kind of couldn't. You would hear songs like Battery, and he'd be playing it so much faster than anybody in the band. But
Yeah, he rushes.
yeah, now it's so much better, and I think it's a main reason why, along with James's sobriety, of why the band sounds so good. They're in their 60s, man. They have no business sounding that
Yeah.
good and aggressive. It's still aggressive. It's not 1990s Metallica aggressive, but what is? Unless if you're in
Yeah.
like in a hardcore band,
Hmm.
but for 60-year-old dudes who,
Yeah. Aren't trying to play hardcore or post hardcore. Yeah. Or metal. I guess they still are metal. They're just a different type of metal. Metal's a very, very big umbrella term nowadays, dude.
yeah, I would say their newer stuff has some metal in it, has a lot of hard rock,
Hard rock.
some
I guess kind of
southern
how I
rock
classify
influence.
them lately. Yeah.
And I think ever since the Black Album, it seems like they were afraid of grunge really taking over. So their response was the Black Album. It was either that or losing to Jethro Tull. Was it the Grammys? And they're like, man, we have this masterpiece of an album. My favorite album to this day is "And Justice for All." Very political, of course, that resonates with me. And you have a band losing the metal category to I like Jethro Tull, don't get me wrong, but it's like flute metal. Sounds very folky. I would put it
Yeah.
more prog rock than
I
anything.
I feel that.
See,
But the Grammys don't really classify prog rock. Like it all just kind of falls under that metal category. Like it's like I said, it's like a when you think about pop culture, they just kind of slap a metal, they're like, "Oh, there's distorted guitars, it's metal." You're like, "Okay." There's, you know, so many subgenres.
there are, and what classifies it as metal and what doesn't. It it can be subjective. I'm sure there's people out there
Mhm.
who can really explain it a lot better than I can.
Yeah, me too. I'm not very subjective about it. I throw many things in many different genres. Like I'm like, this band could be here, here, and here because I hear this in this song, I hear this in this song, and I hear this in that song.
Right. But then
So
you bring up a good point. So many bands now have a lot of different influences to where you can classify it as a lot of different genres. You see that
mhm.
with pop. Was Beyonce's last album country, or was it not? What classifies it as country?
Yeah, it's like a country pop hybrid kind of thing. There's still some hip hop elements in there.
Yeah, you might see something in the future to where before an artist puts out a an album, if it's a popular enough artist on a big record label that wants to submit their album to be selected for something like the Grammys, you classify the genre you want it to be submitted for. That might that might eliminate a lot of the confusion. Um,
Probably that could eliminate a lot of confusion. So
Maybe it's like that already somehow, some way. It it just it seems like with every not every year, but there's a lot of different Grammy awards where different years where the people are like, "What the fuck is this doing on this category?"
yeah,
As far as Metallica goes, their last two albums have sounded pretty similar, um, both production wise and stylistically. Uh, I would say 72 Seasons for me personally, doesn't have the peaks that Hardwire does, but as a whole, I can enjoy the album a lot more, like a lot more consistency in 72 seasons.
Yeah, I think for me, there's more songs that I like that like really just stood out to me on 72 Seasons than on Hardwire's Self Destruct.
Yeah. Yeah, the I would say the Hardwired, Spit Out the Bone is my favorite out of any of those 2 albums. Hardwired is cool, Moth in the Flame was cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think Hardwired starts really fucking
yeah,
like
that
hard.
first
Like it
just
just fucking comes in. You're like, okay, all right.
yeah, there was one song on Hardwire that I think it's so criminally underrated because I think what it is, it sounds too much like a song from Reload that a
hmm
lot of people don't like, but it's called Man Unkind, and
Yeah,
the time signature is really weird, but the bridge is so catchy. And they do that thing where they only play it once and it's like you begging for more.
and you're like, oh my god.
It's
You're like, I gotta keep listening to this song just for this one little
yeah,
part.
and it's like a
Yeah,
6 minute song, so you gotta but I from 72 seasons, I didn't like the title track that much. There's parts of it that are
I,
cool. Um,
yeah.
Lux Eterna's cool. I really like the last
I
3
love Lux
songs.
Eterna. I do too. It's dude. That's an album that really sticks the fucking landing.
Yeah, yeah. Inamorata sounds like some Fixer or Outlaw Torn from
Hmm.
the Reload Low days. You have
Yeah, I love that song too, man. It's so good.
Too Far Gone, which sounds like it uh could be something from Kill 'Em All. It kind of sounds like the song No Remorse. That
Yeah, I love No Remorse. So
um,
good.
and then Room of Mirrors, which maybe one of the best vocal performances of Hetfield's career. When at the end, he lets out this like melodic kind of scream thing, and it's just like how the fuck, which is explains why they haven't played it live yet. I don't think you could pull that off live. Um,
Yeah,
but there's a lot of cool songs on there. I don't know what style they would go for. I don't think they would do 3 albums in a row in that style.
yeah.
So either they slow it down and kind of go back to their load reload days kind of tempo, especially at their age. I don't know. What do you think?
You ever see them leaning into like the modern, like kind of halftime, fucking like prog, more prog metal kind of stuff? Just like really, just like leaning into like the modern metal kind of drumming and like the way they do things now. Or you think they'll always just kind of refrain from going in too much into what is like happening in like the rest of the culture?
I think the only time they did that was Saint Anger, and it failed
Mm.
for them, even though I think it's aged beautifully. Uh,
The only thing that I just eh, the one thing about Saint Anger that I just like see like musicians and like producers really shitting on is the snare.
that's one of my favorite parts of it, man. I love tight ass snares. Love a tight
Yeah, it's
ass and a
very
tight snare, boy.
it is so tight though. You're like, whoa. It's a little jarring. You're like, whoa, all right, dude.
And I was like,
But I feel like Lars has always kind of had a pretty tight fucking snare. I just feel like that one he like really leaned in a little bit. He was like, we're gonna fucking he's like, you want to see the answer to Napster?
right? That I think a lot of influence was from what is his name, John Otto of Limp Bizkit,
Mm, yeah.
and you could hear that on the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack. The snare's pretty tight on that. 311 with Amber and Beautiful Disaster, really tight snare. So that was
Uh-huh.
becoming a popular thing. But
Yeah.
with Lars, the mic, the biggest mic is on the snare. Ever since Black Album, the snare has been a prominent thing for Lars, and uh, he tied up.
What mic is he using on his snare on Saint Anger? Do you know?
don't know. I don't know. I know he's always been into Tama drums. Um, it was a Bob Rock album, which is crazy because Bob Rock brought them that clean sound
Hmm.
from his time with, I want to say, Motley Crue and Bon Jovi, and so that deterrence from that sound to Saint Anger, which
Yeah.
it was purposely done like that. It was an artistic
Hmm.
choice, whether it landed or not. That's certainly up for debate. But James coming out of rehab, he wanted something to sound like he was struggling, and
Yeah.
sure sounds like they're struggling in that album.
It does, yeah. No, it if that's what they were going for, it makes a lot of sense, and it does land. I just think it was. I think to a lot of people who I think it's a little jarring.
It was.
But those might be the same people that those might be the same people that were having issues with them in the 90s.
Yeah, and it was the first album after Napster. So
Yeah.
it was like, oh fuck these guys, and then they come up with this,
Mhm.
no guitar solos, no. And that was another thing of the times. That was new metal. You definitely hear the new metal influence.
The metal influence, yeah.
Um, man, I would say Saint Anger was the precursor to post a lot of post hardcore, like the Every Time I Die. Really, when I hear Every Time I Die, especially their newer stuff, it reminds me a lot of fucking Saint Anger. Meshuggah was big at that time, so they were kind of
Meshuggah's what like every modern guitar player says like every modern metal guy says their influences now is Meshuggah.
it's pretty cool. It's interesting too.
Yeah, like all the Periphery guys are always like talking about Meshuggah. And I'm more like influenced by like Periphery. I'm like, God damn, these. I'm like, how did they get I'm like, how did they get that fucking sound dialed in? There's like three, dude. There's three guitar players in that band, and every guitar sounds like it has its own space. And I'm like, how'd you guys do this?
They really condense their shit.
Crazy. Yeah,
They really do.
it's really like packed in there,
Yeah,
dude. Like, but it sounds. I really like stuff like that. You know, I think me and you both bring like different elements to what we do.
I certainly bring that Kirk Hammett pentatonic shit, the
It
bluesy.
works
Yeah,
well, dude. I like I play a little bit more on the kind of happy chord, and so the pentatonics work very well and like the kind of weird shit that I'm doing like with the funky stuff.
yeah. Which is interesting because Thrice being your biggest influence, I don't hear a lot of Thrice in your playing. Not too much.
I do sometimes. I do. I hear it more on the new album. I feel like I feel like the Sandhouse is my answer to Visu.
Okay.
If I had to if I had to say what it was, I feel like I kind of sound I feel like it sounds like Thrice, but I could just be imagining that. I don't think anything's ever as heavy as I think it's going to sound.
Yep.
Like by the time we're finished, like I'm like, this is gonna be so heavy, and then we finish the song, and I'm like, this kind of sounds like a pop rock song. That's kind of where I always land.
It's hard though, because when you don't write with a drummer, that the
Hmm.
intensity of the song can differ so much as opposed to where like the drummer being there as you write it, it can dictate a
Yeah,
lot
and
of that.
yeah, dude, and like for me, like as a producer, like I feel like I learned how to be like a hip hop producer first, really
Yeah.
before anything. Like I learned how to use the program by like just making hip hop beats, and then I was like, okay, let me take in everything I learned in college and like start recording guitars now and figure out how to like make rock music in this like setting that I've figured out hip hop. And so like for me, like the drum reliance, I feel like my rock drums, I'm like, these are hip hop beats, but with rock style rock style kit instead of samples. And so like I feel like a lot of my beats are always like kind of a little bit more halftimey and just like leave a lot of
Explains why you
hi-hats
like
doing a
Matt
lot of
Martin
work.
though. You know that he I think he falls in that same kind of
Uh-huh.
category
Yeah, dude. Like the
where it's like
yes.
he's a very metal influenced person, but he creates pop.
Yeah.
And you can hear that the we talked about this before. You could hear the influence if you listen carefully. You can hear some of that
Uh-huh.
fucking metal
Yeah.
influence in there.
You can, dude. Like the way like some of the minor slides, you're like, "Oh shit, I know where that came from."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. They just do it on the vocals now instead of the guitars.
and even on the drums in some of them.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, that's that pretty much. I was gonna go album to album, but I think everybody who's ever heard anything Metallica has already heard that stuff before. What Kill 'Em All is, and what led to them.
Mhm.
What led to Cliff's unfortunate death, and all that stuff. But I just wanted to cover where I think they're going next, what I would like to see them doing next, and kind of what they've been up to right now. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe. We may not have said that in the last 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah,
We're so bad at
I
this.
know. We appreciate, hey, even if you just listen, we really do appreciate it. But
Yeah.
it liking it really helps us in the algorithm. It's free, and it would make us smile. You don't look at these beautiful smiles right now.
Hey. Well, all right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode about Metallica, and as always, stay curious.
Bye.